I love to have you here, and you inspires me in many, many ways. We met in a wonderful spiritual course. Then we met in person, and we kind of used our own ways, but we always in those years connected back to each other because we felt, I think, safe and seen together. So welcome, Mocha. I love to have you here because your subject is dear to my heart. Can you tell a little bit more about you?
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was amazing too. I was thinking back now that you said that because we did meet in the course, and how funny when I think back to sitting with you at lunch in the
Yeah.
States. Never did I see at that time sitting at lunch that you and I would be where we are today. It
Yeah.
just wasn't even a thought in my mind. But my name is Mocha Mystique, and I've worked with many clients. I've worked with over 8,000 clients, and I help my clients. I've been a body worker and help them through the body work, through the fascia. But what I love about working with my clients is helping them to embrace their creative spirit and also realize that they don't have to lead a life of where they have to sacrifice or make choices, where they have to forego, for example, today, as we're talking about the book, forego their health in order to make money, forego their, the things that they love in their dreams because they're always chasing something else over there. So I really help my clients to come back and center with themselves through the body using just a blend of the modalities that I've learned over the years to reconnect to their inner voice and allow them to live fully and truly who they are.
Oh, I love that so much. And I think if there's one thing that we want to chase in life, then it is our health, right? And our body is a big part of that.
I think so. I mean, I think sometimes people, they will chase and chase and chase and ignore their body until their body speaks to them, and then they have to stop and they have to listen.
Yes. And that's too bad that sometimes it needs to get so bad before we even listen to it. And you know all about that, right?
Way too much. But I think that's something that society trains us to do I literally just saw a commercial last night, and it was for one of the over-the-counter pain relievers. Won't throw the name out there, and it was pop the pill, you can forget about it so you can be tough and keep going with your day. And I'm like, why we keep masking the pain, and advertising tells us every day, if you want to be that strong person so you can actually do what you need to do to chase the money, to chase the kids, to chase the whatever you are chasing in life, then you need to forget about the pain, forget about the body. And that's how you can move on with life, by basically ignoring the very thing that moves you through life. And that's why it's so crazy.
And that's what, like, even the celebrities tell us. As soon as people get sick, they understand how important their health is.
Right.
And it's so often, if we think back, if it's that worse, that we finally listen and we are thinking about the time before, we already got thousands of messages, but we didn't do anything with it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I love the way how but I love the way how you say it. Like, pain is only information.
Yeah, I think people, in my opinion, give pain this story, right? It's different for everyone. Tattoos are a perfect example. Somebody can go get a tattoo on one part of their body, and it's the most gut-wrenching experience. They'll never do it again. Been there, done that. Cannot do it on my foot. I backed out of it. I couldn't even handle the pain. It was so intense. And then my friend that was next to me, her whole foot was done, right? So even in just things, tattoos or accidents or injuries, or the whisper of your body saying, hey, something's off, we've given it a story based upon how pain was presented to us. I think for a lot of people, it was presented to us as, you've got to suck it up. A lot of times for men, it was, you can't show any weakness, or And when you think of like even high-end athletes, when they're asked, is there any pain or have you ever had an injury? The answer is like, no, no, no. They lie like you've never seen, because they want to be able to play or perform or not appear to not be unable to do the job. Right.
Yeah, and
So,
I recognize that part so much in my own family.
mhm.
With 3 kids, and sorry, 4 kids, but 3 girls and 1 boy. My boy, the youngest, right now is in wrestling, and he loves the wrestling. But he never tells me when he has pain, because nope, you're not allowed to have pain.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
ask him, "Are you not sore after the game?" Nope. Why would I?
Right. Right. And you can almost watch somebody too, and you can see where it's all mental, where they've cut their body off. Because even in that, like in the mimicking, I could see where like just your mimicking of
Yep.
him, all mental, like not even this checking with the body. And even if somebody said, yeah, I'm aware I'm a little bit sore, just to give the body the voice.
Yes, but I love that, because like you in the book, and we will talk more about the book, but in your book you describe how your youth was, and with your competing as an athlete and everything. I know I did lots of sports as well, and I just wanted to be part of it. So you
Mm,
could only be part of it if you didn't say anything, because
exactly.
otherwise you were out.
Yeah, and even if you weren't competing at a high-end level, that was exactly it. Because as humans, even even in the introverted aspect, we want to belong. We want to be part of community. We want to feel a connection. And so because we're taught to separate ourselves from our body, we seek connection outside of us
Yes.
versus the seeking from within to experience a different type of fulfillment when we find the connection that's external.
Yeah, that is so well said. Like the connection with our body, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so important. And it kind of hurts, especially seeing what I did, seeing that my kids do the same. Like, get over it, right? Who are you? It doesn't matter. If
Mhm.
you want to belong, you need to be there.
Yeah.
Ignore whatever distracts you from being there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I find it interesting as well, because then it also creates, which you and I are very familiar with from the work that we also do, it adds to the mirror, excuse me, of the judgment and comparison. And there's that silent whisper that can sometimes happen from the external, sometimes from a coach or a parent. I don't understand why you can't be as tough as this child. He doesn't cry, she doesn't, right? And it's this subtle, look how so and so is doing it, just be strong like them. And so at an early age, we not only separate ourselves from our body, but then there's this comparison that we have to be like another. And then we get all the unsolicited advertising that tells us if you want to be the beautiful or the strong or this, you can icy hot it, or you can rub some cream on it, because God forbid we get a wrinkle, whatever. We don't allow the natural process to happen within our bodies. And then the body stuffs all of the things, all of the thoughts, all of the emotions, all of the conversations, and we forget our body's listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really speaks to me. And I think since I met you, I started to think more about my body. I tried to listen more
Mhm.
to my body, and I try to work together with my body. I think that is like, even in my workouts, I'm doing a mobility training and things like that. And if I cannot do it, it is kind of like, okay, so what is holding me back
Mhm.
to do it? And instead of just push and do it, I'm trying to work together. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and even in that, right? Like I go through similar when I'm working out. And sometimes I'm like, okay, there's nothing holding me back. What if it's just in this moment? So that I
Mm,
can be present in the moment, because maybe it's that thing for that moment today. And then tomorrow your body's like, okay, I got this. I totally got this. But it just wanted to be acknowledged. And sometimes in that acknowledgement we can uncover and do things that we don't realize. Or like you mentioned, you're working out, even the patterning that we do with the brain. So if you were to, for example, count even differently. So a lot of times when we're with a trainer, we do a program or whatever, even if by ourselves, we have repetition. And if you ever notice that, I'll just pick a number, let's say it's 10, it's 10 reps, and it's always 10, always 10. So then we count, and then as we become more tired, then all of a sudden the brain goes, okay, she's tired at 10. I'm tired at 10. But if you were to play with the numbers, you know, what I love, and you know numerology as well, but play with the numbers and count the patterns differently. So if you do sets of 3 or sets of 5, right? So instead, if you're trying to do, maybe 20 different reps, you do it in sets of 5 instead. And the brain does no longer pattern. And that's how you can really tap into the body for when you're done, for when you can push on, for when you can make a difference versus just going through that same cycle.
Right. Yeah. 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 Isn't that crazy? If we start to become aware, we can learn a lot, not just from our mind, but also from our body.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you are the one who brings that all together, right? The mind, the body, and the heart. It is a pretty big deal. If that all is one, then we're back to our true self, isn't it?
Right. I think we tap into the wholeness of who we are. And then there's this activated remembrance that comes deeper from within versus it being all just mental, all just thinking that it has to be coming from the mind. You can actually, that's my superpower, is I can read a body through the fascia, right? And read and see how people sit, like one from a structural, but also two, I can also like literally read the lines when somebody is speaking just from their head, from their heart, or speaking from a pain that comes from in their body. You can see it manifest. It's not something I can explain. I've been able to do it just forever, and I didn't fully embrace it until later in life, but it's fascinating just to watch.
Yeah. And instead of feeling different, what I'm sure you did when you were younger, that you didn't understand why not everybody had that, and then you had something that they didn't have, that didn't fit in the box, I'm sure that made you insecure as well, didn't it?
Actually, no, because it was not something I was aware of. Even though it was something I became aware of, I would have these moments when I would see people. I love to people watch. I could sit and watch people all day, right? But I would have these interesting moments that would happen when I look back in my younger years, and there would be an area of the body, and it would become gray. There's a specific tint of gray where I can tell that there was either a break or a pretty intense injury, and it comes and goes differently. And then, so I just remember noticing in that, but I never gave it any. I thought, well, that's weird. And then I chalked it up to well, that was a good guess, right? And then later on, people would always tell me some very interesting things. I would get amazing feedback, truly, from my clients with, especially when I did massage. It was, I've traveled around the world and I've never received body work like you do. You do it very differently. You always know where to go. Things that therapists hear, but it was different because I did always know where to go. I did always know how to connect the dots, and it wasn't about the localized spot. I could see the wholeness of the body, but I don't think I realized it. I just gave credit. I gave my credit away to just the training. And then later on, I was like, you know what? This is different. And I started to find my own voice, as you could say, within the body work, which really changed it. And then when I got into the fascia, that changed it again. And then when I got into numerology, it was like everything with this layering, everything completely. And then when the certification that you and I did for what we've expanded, that we bring in from a coaching aspect in, from the emotional intelligence work that you and I do, that was its own other layer. So that's what allowed me to really be like, okay, here are the gifts you have, accentuated by the modalities you've learned, and here's how you can truly help people.
Yeah, isn't that fantastic if you start to see what your gifts are?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because the more you see them, um, the more you embrace the gifts, the more you can be a service to the people around you as well. Then,
Right. Exactly. Yeah,
awesome.
and I think even just stepping away from it just is what it is. And what I love about you and I is we honor the gifts. We don't have to we don't have to put ourselves in label and be like it's woo or that. It's just what I do. I don't need to defend or try to give you a predetermined outlook on what it is that I do or prepare you. It's just you either resonate with the work or you
Yes.
don't. And either is fine, you know?
But
And
the
so
good part is that we could take that step back. That if people are not resonating with it, we
Mhm.
don't take that personally anymore, right? It's like that's
True.
okay too.
Exactly. But but what I love about it is it can be broken down, right? Somebody doesn't resonate with what we do. It's just about, like with you, just about the dog. If somebody comes in with me and they don't resonate with the wholeness of all the stuff that I have the capability to do, then it's just about the body, or it's just about figuring out something to do with the business. I might be interested in numerology, but it's just about something.
Yeah.
And then that big step is that encompassing of all.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. Hey, back to the book,
Yes.
because I think that is a pretty amazing thing. There you go. The Sacred
Mhm.
Wisdom, where we as four authors bring the knowledge and the purpose that we have bring to serve others, right?
Yes. Yes. We did amazing, if I do say so myself.
I think it is amazing. And I love the front cover. The colors are warm and joyful. So I'm very proud about this book. So can you tell me a little bit more about the story that you wrote into the book? Because I know there was a whole way towards it, but it also gave you some pretty big breakthroughs, isn't it?
It did, because writing the story the way what unfolded, I actually had to navigate and think back to moments in time that I personally had shoved down, that I had just completely cut off because I didn't want to deal with it, or it was like it already happened. I don't need to go there. It was just a bleep in life. And
Yeah.
so that is something that I noticed with myself is things are a bleep, whether it's an injury or an amazing experience or even a celebration, is sitting and just owning the moment and not making it be something that's good or bad. So with the story, a lot of the breakthrough was, what was interesting is it uncovered a lot of things that I didn't remember. Even though I couldn't remember, the body remembers. And the
Mm,
body remembers, so the body had to process a lot of emotion. So there was a lot of tears that came out of nowhere, anger, frustration, um, wanting to quit. So many times there was so much that happened that I truly just didn't see coming from writing what was started out to be just a story, and then it's a story until it's not. Does that make sense?
I think it really opens your story, but
Mhm.
also it makes it very relatable for a lot of people.
It
Like,
was hard because I didn't realize how much, like, one, a lot of people don't know a lot of the things, even to friends and stuff that are close. I never would tell them. Why would I? Because I didn't want to burden them with my story, one. And then two, it was very vulnerable. That was
yes,
another piece of actually putting myself out there. And
right.
even though there's nothing that's really any big secret or any big story per se, it was big for me to show a side that I couldn't do when I was younger, couldn't do in sports. So I didn't realize how long I'd carried the pattern of
Yeah.
not being vulnerable, for fear of some fake penalty. Now I don't play in sports now, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I think I would love to bring one sentence that really stuck with me. And I think if you hear that sentence, um, so many people recognize. and start to be aware about our patterns. So it's the sentence: by living in the mind, my body became the cemetery of the dead emotions, unprocessed stories, and all the things you never expressed.
Yeah.
Holy moly. I think that's back for me. I know we talked a lot about how we got here and how we start to see our gifts as a way that we can serve people. But we also told always to each other, like, um, but we don't have like a really sad part, or a lot of stories need to have an part where there is really a breakthrough, a divorce or whatever. We didn't have that
No.
until I read your book, and I thought, like, oh my gosh, Mocha, you do have a lot of things that brought you, everything on its own brought you one step closer to writing this book.
Yeah.
So instead of making it a drama thing about all the stuff that happens, you used it to make it relatable to people, to serve people better.
Yeah, it was something that there's a ton that's not in the book. It just the book is a snippet.
Oh, now we get curious. That's for book number 2, right?
And so because of there's so much that isn't there, but what is there? But it allows for a different type of connection, right? It allows for, and even though I talk in the book about, I don't believe that we can really walk in another person's shoes. I hate that saying. It's the stupidest thing ever. Walk a mile in my shoes, right? No, because we can't even do that now. Nobody sees through the same lens. We don't have the same experiences. Like, that's why it's all just information. And in that moving forward, that's what makes it just so unique with the stories. And there was just so much that just wasn't there. But that's where I can connect with clients, because even though I can't say I've been through what you've been through, there's been a similar experience. There's been a similar experience, and learning to really shift from, even though it's kind of that bumper sticker tagline, from surviving to thriving, but there is a psychological shift that does have to happen, because survival, to just be the survivor, is still like staying in victim mode. There's still a lower frequency cloud of choosing to just be the survivor. And there's many times I fell back into that lower frequency. And then there's the thriving piece.
Right.
And thriving has its own interesting, aspect as well. And thriving for some means that you're just killing it. You're just doing the thing, whatever. Thriving has a different definition for some people for what they've chosen it to mean. And for me, thriving was that line where you stepped over that says, I'm not going to live in that lower frequency of the victimhood, the lack, I'm just trying to survive and get through, because I did that for so many years of my life.
Right. Yeah. But the like, although there happened lots of things in your life, the way that we hide it and kind of ignore it is so programmed by this world that is the only way how you get through it.
Right.
But we forget that at some point in your life, you need to see it, to release it, right?
I think for me, there was a lot of moments of, there was a lot of medication, a lot of drugs, a lot of just in where at times they had to keep me medicated for some of the injuries and illness. And in that, there isn't that memory. So I think that's what was very hard about the book. And then I think then there were periods of time with just even drinking and things where you're numbing, but you don't know what you're numbing. And I think that's what was so interesting is it's not like I could go back and have a flash and say, this is what I'm trying to just numb out of my body, you know, right? Where
Right.
you're remembering the scenes. Like with my ankle injury, it was so severe and there was so much blood loss. And going through that, I get flashes. I have a flash, and there was a surgery that I woke up in that went too long. So I have these flashes of moments that was a 10-year battle of trying to, keep from having my leg be amputated. So in that, I think what was interesting is even though my mind didn't remember, and I don't always have the
Mm.
greatest memory with some things, that the body remembered. And that's what I
Yes.
found so fascinating is the body still had to process. And that's what made this book really hard in times of writing it, because the body started to process all the stuff that I never gave to light because I didn't know to give it light, didn't remember. And then
Yes.
I would have these interesting bouts that I actually went through of severe exhaustion. And the only time I can remember that I went through that was when I actually went through like just detoxing from all the pain medication.
Mm.
There were these interesting pieces. And then there was a little bit of fear. It was I did not want to go back into a place of fight or flight and feel like I had to relive it. As that was such, I was like, I just can't relive some of the stuff that I've had to go through just to put it in a book. Right.
Right.
So I had to
Yes.
process. So there was a lot that came up and through that was just its own cycle, truly.
Right. Yeah. So if we talk about free the body, and people experience pain,
Mhm.
as I hear you saying now, you might not remember where it's coming from, but if you listen to your body, it might tell you what it was, or it might show you what it was.
Right. Even in that it doesn't have to be, when we go to listen, I think the first thing is really just listening and asking the body, right? And even if we don't remember, the acknowledgement can open the door to create the awareness of something for the next.
Right.
And then what's interesting is you might have where you just start following like different pings in the body. All of a sudden, like everything hurts, There was a woman that I had just met. I have her as a new client tomorrow, actually. And she had had a surgery. And so many people have different kinds of surgeries where they're put under. But the doctors could care less about what position your body is in before you go into surgery. They don't care if there's an arm up or you're talking to a nurse and your head is turned, and they don't care if one leg's in one position. They just go in, move you around, do the surgery, and then you wake up. And a lot of people will even have from like a procedure, dental, whatever, body procedure, they will have these pains and it will start to ping. And so then the hard part is they go to the doctor and the doctor's focused on the injury that they had. And they're like, but it's weird. I feel this stuff in other areas. And even a doctor will discount it. Well, we didn't work there. So I don't know what it is, right? Like, and it gets pushed aside.
Yes.
But from the wholeness of all the layers of the body, all of those could be just little messages. Hey, something's not right here. Hey, listen to me over here. And then the next of those are those layers of those whispers where, right, we may not know, but just starting to listen and acknowledge those places.
Right. So can you tell how you start asking your body for their feedback? How do you do that?
I actually will, from a mutual friend of ours, one of the easiest ways that I love is she spoke of this, and I thought it was a cool way to do it. But a simplified way for now is you just ask yourself your name. What's my name? And you hear how it sounds. And then you ask the body, and then you ask the heart, what's my name? And then hear that resonance, how it sounds familiar. And then you might throw in a lie. My name is Bob, right? You might throw in a lie and you'll feel that in the body, feel a little bit different. And then take that feeling to where the area of pain is, and then just ask it, what is it it needs? So what you're trying to do is to create a resonance between what's happening in the mind, what's happening in the heart, and make it the same. Because a lot of people, they go, well, they either don't trust it or they don't hear anything. And it's not that you're necessarily listening for a voice. Somebody might feel their heartbeat somewhere. Somebody might feel, just was with a client the other day, and she's like, I can feel my heartbeat in my ears.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be a pulse or an itch or anything sensory. It's whatever it is that presents with that body. And then you're starting to just tune in and find what it is. And then eventually you can start to hear it formulate into words. So if you're like, do I really want to go to the gym? A lot of times the answer is no. Who really wants to go to the gym, right? but it's mental. But then if you go and you're like with the body, right, and asking the body, because a lot of times that pushing of the self. So that's a simple way to do it. It can be to create touch, if something's hurting in the leg, to create touch on the body and just to be present and ask it the same question that we would somebody else. Because the first thing most people do is they go to answer shop, Dr. Google, or they ask a friend or they ask a family member, and then they go down the rabbit hole. And that rabbit hole is usually filled. All the answers that they're looking for is filled with what those people would do. So now, once again, in the asking of others, we're ignoring the body, because the body just wants to be the first one you choose, not the last in line, because
I like that. Yeah.
Convenience, because it's ruined the day or because it's messed up a trip or whatever it's done. The body's tired of being last in line for the very thing that's first to show up for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can feel that part. Yeah. So
we know, because a lot of times people go, I don't know. If I knew, then I wouldn't ask. But the catch is when people don't ask, right? And so what ends up happening is when you can get a dialogue with the body, and then of course, yes, sometimes we need help outside of us. But maybe if we're going and getting a first and second opinion, when we can develop that resonance in the body, that first person we ask, we might be able to feel the body go, oh, they're not for me. No matter what it is, this coach, this doctor, this lawyer, this tax person, it doesn't matter what they are doing, right? This person that's going to sew me back together, whatever it is, then you actually have choice and discernment to put and align your body with the right practitioner for whatever it is that will help you be more in alignment for whatever that goal is.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
You can read everything from the mind, and everybody looks good on paper. But does the body resonate with that paper?
And I am, as a mom of 4 kids, I was also the voice for their bodies, especially when they were younger. But I always trusted my feelings. But I think if I think back right now, I think that I trusted the gut feeling that I had around their health was stronger than the gut feeling about my own health.
But what's really cool about that, there's a fascinating resonance that happens when I teach my bodywork classes. When I teach, sometimes it will happen with some of the students when they're really getting into it. And they can actually, and I try to really teach them to use the verbal cues of the body. That doesn't always have to come from the mouth. And they can actually start to feel it. And you can actually, so even though you were the voice for them, there's a gut reaction that happens through the fascial body that's an unspoken, and then the body just knows when they're tapping in.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just how long that voice lasts. Sometimes people carry, and that voice lasts too long for people.
Right. And I'm sure with practice that you will start to trust that voice more and more too, right?
Yeah. Some people, it scares them. When I was younger, it scared me. I didn't want to.
Yes.
Because then also too, if somebody then does give you information and it doesn't work, you don't have to be accountable. Is really what
Yes.
it boils down to.
I think that is something
Bitter
that,
pill.
oh, I know. And that is taking the responsibility
Mhm.
yourself, but also take that power back to yourself
Yeah.
is something that we are not used to do anymore.
Yeah. And in my younger years, I would have fought you and said, oh, I'm totally responsible. I'm doing the thing. I'm here. I'm that. But I think in what you just said there, it was the unknown awareness to the fact that I even had power that could be given away and taken back.
Yes.
I didn't know I was giving away my power, AKA I wasn't being responsible to self.
Yeah.
But in my mind, there was, because how dare you tell me I'm not being responsible? I am a responsible, right? Like that's that part. And so sometimes
Right.
even that language will send somebody and be like, hey, I'm doing everything I can, and then you and I are like, well, you're not.
But I think if we go back to my son in his wrestling, I think that he thinks that he's very responsible by
Exactly.
ignoring it, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's that weird dynamic because society would tell them he's doing everything right. There's enough
Mhm.
evidence that
Yes.
he's doing it right. He's being responsible because he's showing up and he's checking all the boxes.
Yes.
It's the hidden responsibility, the unseen that is not navigated.
Yes. But also because it is so programmed that we are living that way, it is
Mhm.
hard to become your true self and be different than the rest of the world around you because people have a hard time to acknowledge that. So you need to be courageous
Mhm.
and step up for you because you matter,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
so true. And in the
Oh,
beginning, sometimes it's hard because when you go to step out of whatever box, there's the
yes.
resistance because a
Yes.
lot of people are very comfortable that everybody thinks the same.
Yeah.
And then you've got the one, and
Yeah.
so can you push through that box to be with the mind, body, and the heart to say, no, this is my path. I know what's right for me, and that is not that. And then in taking the power back, when people do take the power back of that, you end up drawing more people just like that. But in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's not always easy.
No, I know. I know. I have felt always different my whole life because it didn't resonate with me that programming part. I always felt there was more than that they told me, right?
Yes.
So, um, yeah, I kind of accepted that I was not fitting in the box.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that is not always easy. But
Right.
but this time in a world where we are living right now, it is really important to
Mm-hmm.
take that responsibility because you matter and start to listen to that the voice
Right.
that your body has, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I love your chapter and I love all you do. You kind of tipped on it a little bit, all the modalities that you do. It is not just the body, but you kind of gave it a voice with the numerology. Do you want to explain a little bit more on that part?
Something I've come to find is the fascia holds the codes. Our
Mm-hmm.
fascia is our largest organ in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to find that the codes within the fascia, numerology gives it a voice through the numbers of the frequency. And in my experience, I find that different numbers, when somebody's coming to me and it's specific to the body, that different numbers will show up to navigate, sometimes a little bit more prevalent. And so that's the part that I absolutely love. So sometimes when people are experiencing on the flip of it that they can't put a voice to something, then I can find it through the numbers to help
Oh,
them
right.
navigate, to bring it to the forefront of the mind, which will allow them to then it's not me telling them what it is, but helping them to connect the dots of something that they can't quite put their finger on, so that they can go, wait a minute, now I've got this. To bring them back to either a moment or a feeling or an awareness that can just shift or pivot something that can allow them to move on. I've even helped it with some of my Rossiter students. I teach the fascial technique for Rossiter. It's a connective stretching modality. And even then, sometimes just by somebody's birth date and knowing what their birth date is and their ruling number, or even through the Egyptian numerology as well with the playing cards, sometimes there will be certain birth cards that are a little bit more predisposed to the health things. Clubs, for example, they are very much in the mind, and they sometimes will have a little bit more health challenges because they are so mental already. They don't want to be in their body. They're the doing and the thinking and they're doing all the things. Diamonds, the builders of the world, right? They want to do so much. They're also, everything's very transactional. So sometimes they also may be somebody who might sacrifice. They've got to push harder to make the money, to have the things, to be able to do, ignore the body. I'll take care of it later, because there's always this push or this need to move. So in the transactional aspect, so yes, the numbers will sometimes show up, and then sometimes it has nothing to do with the birthday. I can do cards with somebody and be like, okay,
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
so I it's been an interesting journey with the numerology, bringing the cards in and bringing in just the numbers, but really it's truly the frequency of energy in the body to bring that voice out for people that are still trying to find the voice of themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's so good. So you kind of look at everyone with the whole perspective of the body, the heart, the mind, and the cards.
Yes. And then just meeting people where they're at.
Yes.
Which I love, because not if there's people that they need help with the body, but they're not into the numbers. Okay.
Yeah. So how can they find you?
I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, and I've also got my website. It's mochamystique.com. You can find me both, but I am on Facebook and Facebook Messenger as well.
Awesome. And when they find you, they can connect with you. But what is it what you can offer the people?
The book. I can offer them the book.
Yeah, and I have one too. Oh, there we go.
Buy the book.
Yeah. So the book is 4 authors. So we are both in there, and there's 2 more, and it's a very it's sacred wisdom. It is a very inspiring journey to reconnect with self and discover your truth, because everybody has a purpose. It's just like, do you know that it's not your career, or it doesn't have to be your career? Sorry. It doesn't be, if you're a mom, it doesn't be your spouse from somebody. It is you. Right?
Right. Your existence is your purpose.
Yes. And that's so important, because I sometimes get the question from people, and they say they live their life and they're pretty happy, but they're still looking for their purpose. What do you say to those people?
Seek within. Look within. You are your purpose, and and to continue to look outside of yourself, you will forever be searching.
Yeah. Stop looking, right?
Yeah. Stop looking, go within. And then there's people like you and I that are able to help people if that's a scary place, because a lot of people, it is scary to go within.
Yes. And that's so true. And I really discovered that the going within brought me freedom, brought me belonging, and brought me that purpose where I was looking as well. And it's so easy to identify as a mom of 4 kids, but then what after if they fly away, right?
Right. But it kind of reminds me of like Purpose is like when people say I'm trying to be happy, or I've got to do something to be happy. And that goes back to judgment and comparison, truly, because that means there's a measurement somewhere out there that you received information, what it meant to be happy, whatever that means. You've got some story attached to happiness, versus happiness can be just the frequency of an emotion that can be felt in the body, and you can have that in the now. It doesn't have to be something you have to go get. We can experience happiness through action, but we can also experience it just within our own selves. So when people are seeking for their purpose, it's they've forgotten, or maybe we're never exposed to the knowing of the power that they have within themselves.
Yes, I agree. Oh, so good. All right, so put that hand on our hearts and just take a deep breath and just feel within. And if you're searching and you need any help, Mocha and I are here, because the only thing we want is that you can live a life full within your purpose, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
In purpose, on purpose. And for those of you that were looking to purchase the book, it is available on Amazon in several different countries. So we would love for your support. Would love for you to leave a review for those of you that have purchased the book. For any of you that may catch us on the replay, we would love to receive a review on that on Amazon as well.
Yes, and even if you only have read one chapter, you can still write a review. So please do, because that every review helps us to bump up the book and make it more looked for other people, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much
to you today. Thank you.
Yeah, it was awesome to be here with you. Thank you so much. I love to stay connected with you. And if anybody wants to free anything in their body and are not sure, please reach out to Mocha, because she is the girl that you need.
Thank you.
All right. See you. Bye.
Bye for now.